that they put on fruit.
Oh God, that's another whole category I decided not to go into. There's like over 20 different kinds of stuff they put on your food as waxes, petroleum byproducts, all different kinds. So there are lots of, like we said in the beginning, you weren't here, we talked about there's thousands and thousands. So I don't even know where to begin. So I decided to focus on what causes cancer and what kills you, like cancer and heart disease, two things. Right? Next one, please. So that was the first one, the first chemicals. Found widespread chemicals, 3 different chemicals. That's PBDE. Next one is BPA, bisphenol A. And that gets into your food through plastic. It leaks from plastic stuff that you store your food in. And that's the chemical ingredient used to make plastic hard. So a lot of baby bottles have BPA in them. And you can see that more than 90% tested have that. Next one, please. So these are all the products that contain BPA, that leaks BPA into your food. Almost all canned foods, soda pops, drinks, the lining of the can contains BPA. And some states have banned baby bottles. I think Canada banned baby bottles containing BPA.
Lee, what about water bottles?
Water bottles are a very good way to get your BPA fixed. Yes.
Question, a lot of baby bottles say BPA free. Does that mean anything?
Okay, thank you for your question. The next slide, please. Well, all these products claim not to have BPA, but have BPA. They claim to have not contained BPA. So, speaking of water bottles, so one of the alternatives is go to metal water bottles, right? One of the metal bottles available is Seek. It's really expensive. It's made in Europe, and they advertise how they have. They don't list what's in their lining inside because they say it's a biological lining. It's trade secret, And this is from Switzerland, right? You tend to trust them, right? So this is really safe. So I spent, I think, close to $100 buying 3 of them at Whole Foods, only to find out a year later, after having used them a year, through a very obscure publication that that comes through to me because all wacky people send me email about things like this, and I found out that they're actually leaking BPA. And the company actually acknowledged that you can actually take your older bottles and return them for free at Whole Foods and REI. So,
Ray?
Yes.
And what about the Clean Canteen? Are you familiar with them?
No, actually. I just gone away from using them altogether because there have been problems with aluminum leaking, steel, other things leaking into the water. I just think back like 30 years ago before bottled water became popular, what did people do? They crawl around, thirsty all day, or they're okay? Think about it. When did it become a necessity that we'll all be walking around with bottled water? So I basically stopped doing that altogether. Yes?
So what do you use?
I don't use the bottled water. I don't use anything at all. I do drink tap water, yes. I have a mug in my office and I go to the drinking fountain. Yeah. So, next one, please. So this is a third chemical. The third chemical is, PFOA. These are the what's things that makes nonstick, nonstick pans, like in Teflon and stuff like that. And so those are 3 top. Almost in everything, over 90%, and this is most of everybody have this. Next one, please. So these are the products that you can also, again, be wearing it. It could be in your carpet for to make it stain resistant, right? So in cooking with it. Now, what do they all have in common? What they all have in common, those top 3 reported in the report, all top 3 are endocrine disruptors. So they're all in your food, and they're also endocrine disruptors. And once again, I go to the government to find the most conservative, supposedly reliable report again. So this is a 2010, it came out in 2010, report on endocrine disruptors. So what are they? So what do you get from this picture? No, all right, no discrimination there for a change. All right, good. And do you think these things are important?
Yeah.
you think so? They're important. So what endocrine disruptors do is they mess with all of these. That's what they mean, right? And How does it work? How does it work? Is so you have a cell, you have a receptors, and those little balls are hormones. And so it sort of works like a lock and key, right? So what for the endocrine disruptor, they fall into 3 different categories actually. Most commonly in these 2 categories, the first one is they mimic a hormone. They act like a hormone. So they're turning you on and off as you eat your food. So they actually go into the slot like a hormone, or they go into to actually tell your body to do what your normal hormone would normally tell you to do. Or they can block up these spaces, so your real key cannot go in. So those are the ways the endocrine disruptors work. Next one, please. So once again, I'm just cut and paste from the report. Exposure at low levels. So what you hear about the argument is always, oh, well, this is very low levels at all. It's not going to affect you. So the report actually reports on what happens with low levels. I just give you a minute to read it. Next one, please. So even at low dosages, these are the possible results, possible effects on you. Next one, please. Now, we're going full circle again now. We're coming back. That's a really interesting piece to me that was news to me also, that these endocrine disruptors are actually linked to obesity and diabetes. So you begin to see that there's very little you can actually do. One of the things that was really curious is like infants are getting fat these days. Why do we have obese infants? You can't blame that on McDonald's or lack of exercise. It's actually the chemicals that we're finding in our environment getting into our food. Next one, please. So just a reminder, the relationship. One. Another piece is that these endocrine disruptors, once they get into the environment, they take forever to degrade, or we haven't seen them to go away yet. Like DDT has been banned a long time ago, and they are showing up in the report. Like earlier, the National Institute of Health report in people's blood and urine. And so I actually, this is not at all comprehensive. I just picked out a few so we can talk about today. So I picked these because PCBs and DDTs have both been banned for decades, and they're still showing up in people's bodies. And dioxin, everybody knows about dioxin, yeah? There are a group of chemicals, there are dioxin-like chemicals, and they're associated, everybody knows about Agent Orange. Well, that's what makes Agent Orange so deadly. It's because of dioxins. It's a byproduct in Agent Orange. And that is showing up in our food. So what's common about all of them, they're all showing up in our food. So PCBs and DDT, I picked them out because they've been banned for decades. Dioxin, I thought everybody knows about dioxin. But not everybody probably heard about phthalates. First of all, you can't even say it, right? Phthalates. What are they? Okay. Now remember BPA is a chemical that makes plastic hard. Phthalate are chemicals that makes plastic soft. Good job. Makes plastic soft. You said that? Yeah. All right, good. The next one, please. So there are all kinds of efforts to ban phthalates in babies' toys. So one of the things that's very common is like, teethers, because it's nice and soft to gum on. All right. You wonder then why babies are getting fat? Yes.
My mom used to give us onion.
Oh, well, good for her. Stop you chewing real fast, right? Next one, please. So what's common again here is all these things that contain phthalates. It goes from tennis shoes, shower curtains, flooring, perfumes, inside the perfume. So every time you buy a product, it says fragrance on it. It probably means it has phthalate. They don't have to say anything what's in the fragrance by law. So they just use fragrance. And most of the time, that means it has phthalate in it. Huh? Vinyl, yeah. And it is in your food. And it's in your fruits and vegetables, not in your meat. And there's a group of, just did the research last year. They compared 4 different groups of people. People who are really careful about what they eat and taking supplements. People who are just eat really healthy, all eat natural. People don't really care about what they eat. And people who eat a lot of junk food. What they found was there's no significant difference at all in their intake in phthalate. Yeah. In fact, the group that eats a lot of vegetables and fruits had a little more than the other groups.
Have they done any studies to find if there's a difference in the chemicals grown in different countries? Whereas areas here where, there's a lot of urban, chemical exposure to urban living because of chemicals, would there be more chemicals in the food grown here as compared to some country like that is?
They have, first of all, to answer your question, there are over 100,000 man-made chemicals in the environment. So what does that say to you? That says to you, what can they do? What can they test, right? And there's over 10,000 suspected endocrine disruptors. And last we heard, the Environmental Protection Agency has not tested a single one of them. They spent $80 million, but haven't tested any chemicals. Yes?
It's counterintuitive, though, that people who ate, more fruits and vegetables would have actually more of this than others.
It doesn't include organic.
Do you think?
Well, because, if other, say the people on the opposite end, if they're eating foods especially high in fats and sugary foods, ready-made meals, we know that that's full of a lot of the things you're talking about.
This is about phthalates in particular.
This is just about
If
phthalates.
it's on fruits and vegetables, if somebody
It's on
eats more
everything.
fruits and vegetables, they have to eat more because it's low-density food as compared to somebody eats a cheeseburger.
Well, we don't really know. This is just a research finding. I'm just putting it out there to share. Now, like I said, really what I want is promote thought. And I want you guys to provoke you to really think and start having conversation. Next one, please.
Somebody mentioned organic food.
Well, we talked about earlier organic. So this is, I'm sorry, your name? So this is just to have a sense like, no, we don't relate to big numbers, right? When was the last time you had $10,000 in your wallet, in single dollar bills, right? It's like bulging out from your pants. So at least I don't relate to big numbers like 10,000. So what I've done is I took I screw with a bunch of pictures, put them together. I made little squares with geologists were trained how to do this, make little squares and count and figure out how many are in the dot. So this is about 10,000. So imagine yourself sitting in the middle of it, surrounded by 10,000 different endocrine disruptors. Next one. The most scary piece for me is that studies have shown that mice in laboratory anyway, so the mom and dad exposed to pesticides, chemicals in the environment, endocrine disruptors, their granddaughters and grandsons show effects of being affected even though they've never been exposed. So is what is called epigenetic event.